Monday, 84K BTC, pretty much the same as yesterday, and the alts are kind of hovering around. But guys, there is a big signal flashing for some of these altcoins on higher time frames. We've got to deal with it because it's pretty serious to the upside. Okay, so we're going to look at that today. Obviously, we're dealing with Mantra, we're dealing with OM and the big disaster. So James has got some info for us. Then we're covering tons of setups. I've got some stocks as well. So much happening on a Monday. Let's get right into it. Guys, and remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. And like I said, James is here. He's been doing some research on Mantra or OM, so he's going to help us a little bit. We're going to look at that disgusting chart. And yeah, maybe I should have worn the disgusting shirt. But anyway, we're going to talk about that now because this is flashing in our faces. This thing that is offensive to me. Fuck this shit. Okay, 90% down on OM. Now we will remember OM was one of the best performers when the market was falling over. Now, isn't that interesting that this thing can be held up like that when the market is falling over? Smells fishy already, doesn't it? Okay, now it has fallen over. So big mess there in the middle. Looks like a target actually for us. FARTCOIN performing a little bit today, but I would say overall we haven't moved much from our upside resistance zones that we covered on Sunday, yesterday evening for me, at those resistance zones on those altcoins. We haven't moved much. And potentially this is obviously a good thing for alts that we haven't had a monster rejection just yet. Maybe we're just giving some time for these oscillators to reset. So we're going to look at this in detail for you guys, because I do suspect, other than a couple of shorts that are up, down at the moment, we are going to get some nice big tee up entries for us. So let's start with BTC. And Sasha says, Uncle, 150% coming. Sasha, I'm going to give you all the information. Okay, I'm gonna give you basically what happens is today. Like, I do all the work during the day. I look at the charts, I look at higher time frames, I look at these things, and I do my homework, and then I just share it all with you in these sessions. And I picked up something super interesting on these alts today. So yeah, you're gonna do your own. You make your own decisions, but I'm gonna show you what is going on. Okay, so here we go. BTC finally a rejection. 85,500. This was our high zone that I dropped in hackers earlier today, and this is the high from yesterday evening as well. So 85,500, we finally getting our reaction in that zone, and now we're looking for a little bit of a move to the downside on BTC. Now remember, we want to keep this thing nice and bullish. We don't want a situation where we are losing the lows from the dump, and that is probably going to be from some disgusting headline from Uncle Donald. But just recapping what I want to see, this was our handbag line. We touched this on Friday, and what I was saying was if we break through the handbag line here, we're going to get a nice altcoin rally, and that's exactly what they gave us for BTC. So now, for me, any chop in this region is actually quite reasonable here for these altcoins. So that is kind of what we want to be watching anyway. So in terms of BTC levels, 85.5, that's our resistance. The big zone for me to the downside, 81,700. I'm really liking the look of that. It's a 382. It's our VWAP from the lows. It's our trend retest. That makes a lot of sense to me as a reasonable area here for a tap on BTC. So 81,700, 81,800, that region's looking quite nice for me. That whole sort of zone over there makes a lot of sense. So if they do bleed us down, just looking for that reaction there. And then obviously we want to tie in our alts that are going to be sitting on there, probably their corresponding 382s or 618s at the time that happens. Now, a little bit lower down, just highlight these levels on your charts in case we do get a bigger sell-off. These are zones where I would expect some degree of reaction. 80,200 and 79K. So those are going to be my next zones. If we do have a little bit more weakness there, that is where we're going to try and put the brakes on at those two levels. And then talking upside, I really feel like we've come this far on BTC. It would be very strange if they don't take us up here. 87, 88, 89, this whole band. I've got the VWAP from the highs. I've got the 200-day MA. I've got the wick fill as well in that region. There's tons of liquidity sitting in that zone. If you look at the 1 month liquidity or liquidation heat map, you can see this zone at 88. Look at how juicy that is up there. Okay, so we're so close. Why wouldn't you, as the market makers, want to come and just test that area and just clean things out? So I still think we're going to get a look at that area, but if we are, I don't want to go much deeper than 81,700 as the retest, and then we want to send it into that zone. Then it's in the crypto gods' hands after that. Okay, so look, I expect 88, 89 is going to be a short region for us, but we'll see what happens when we get in there. And PMG says Monday pump and dump my dingaling. PM. Okay, we go. James, what is this filth you putting on my screen here, bro? Okay, let's get into the news. Let's see what is going on out there. So fear and greed index is at 31. So it's quite interesting. It's telling us there's quite a bit of nervousness in the market still and uncertainty. It's not great. You know, it's a BTC. Look, it's been okay. The news has been better, but there's still a bit of fear. The stock market basically crawling out of the grave at the moment. So we looked at this thing. It was at 4 or 5 about 3-4 days ago. It's now really just starting to rise from the dead and moving into fear zone, but we're definitely not out of the woods. And it's pretty scary considering that the S&P is at 20 and the amount of pumpage that we have seen already in the last couple of days. It's quite impressive. But in terms of impressive numbers, 24-hour liquidations, 388 million. Okay, I don't know why. Why do we enjoy looking at this? I don't know. Why is this fun? 388 million liquidated in the last 24 hours. I would guess my assumption here is a lot of longers, okay? And we haven't even had a brutal altcoin move to the downside. So can you imagine if we get a proper move on these alts to the downside, all the late longers are going to get smashed. So today, once again, everybody, it's all about tariffs. Now, I can't wait for the day that the tariff is not part of the discussion and we can start talking about other stuff. But unfortunately, this is our life at the moment, especially as traders in any form of market. And this is basically what this tariff news is doing to us at the moment. This is like literally trying to predict the crypto market. It's terrible, but this is exactly what the news is doing to us at the moment. It's terrible, guys. Terrible. It's so childish. Sorry, it's so childish. Okay, so we looked at this. Yesterday, and this was the big news this weekend that Uncle Donald came out with exemptions and things like that in terms of some of the stuff coming out of China. So it's obviously helped Apple. It's helped a lot of the tech stocks. And we were saying yesterday, I was expecting a big gap to the upside on some of these tech stocks based on the news this weekend. So this was the original cause of the pump that we saw over the weekend. Then 𝗏𝗏 came out and he put a little bit of water on the fire there and just started calming things down a little bit. So he's basically said the electronic products will be part of an upcoming sectoral tariffs. So these will come in a month or so. Okay, so they didn't exactly repeal all of them. I mean, I'm losing track of all the tariffs and all the drama at the moment, but that's basically what happened. So, you know, it was removed on Saturday. Then he came back and saying, well, hang on, it is actually going to come back. And here, Uncle Run gave us some info. He says clearly something happened after Friday's tariff concession. There was a clear 180 done by the administration, a change in narrative. First, it was 𝗏𝗏 that came up with new categories of tariffs, and now Trump saying there was no tariff and exemption announced on Friday. They seem to not be ready to let the market run, are now talking it down again. Okay, so here's Donald coming out. This was last night, I think, James. When did he drop this one? Yeah, he dropped this late last night.
It was after the show while we were on the Zoom. Because, yeah, we were quite bullish during the show, and this came out about an hour after. We're going, oh, never mind. Canceled.
Yeah. Yes. So he came out with this whole story, basically just reversing a little bit. But if you read it, I mean, not much has actually changed. So I'm not going to read this to you. I'm sure you guys can all read, and you can take a look if you want to pause this. But this is literally what is going on. Cosmo says they keep making shit up. 100%, bro. It really feels like this at the moment. Slothman says manipulation. Fuck me, guys. In about three windows, you're going to see some manipulation coming in hot. Okay, so here's the tariff wheel of fortune. This literally feels like what is happening at the moment for us. And this is what's gone down since Wednesday. Universal reciprocal tariffs. Then a removal back down to 10%. Then 50% Chinese, 90% Chinese, 104, 125, 145. All of a sudden, electronics exempted. Then electronics now potentially back on. Who is struggling to read the market at the moment? Shall we just go back and just look at that again. And just, this is exactly why we are feeling like we are in that place at the moment. So it's a mess, okay? And I like his line here at the bottom. If you were a CFO of a Fortune 500, would you approve any new investment in a country this unstable, okay? So it's interesting. And now the Chinese government or Chinese exports increased by 12% in March, despite the ongoing trade war with the US. So all of a sudden, do we actually need the US, says China, because their exports are increasing anyway? Okay, so it looks like they'll be able to sort themselves out. Yes, sir?
But the reason that their exports were so high that they're not mentioning there is because American companies were stockpiling to try and make it through a tariff tantrum. That's why those sales are so high. It's not that no one gives a shit. They were getting in before the tariffs took place.
Classic BRICS headline, though, isn't it? Classic BRICS. Eh?
It is.
Yeah, we're fine without America.
They forgot to mention that part.
Okay, smart. Well picked up. Spencer says China choosing to escalate rather than de-escalate. Now, this is a big one in terms of the tariff war. And I know this is a shitcoin trading show, guys, but this is like enthralling, the soap opera that we're watching at the moment. China halts critical exports as the trade war intensifies. They are stopping their rare earth minerals needed for all modern manufacturing. Okay, now the Chinese actually refine a lot of this stuff, and this was covered quite nicely by Mario Norfolk. He says rare earths aren't rare. China owns the refining, not the mines. But this is a proper story because even the Americans are sending their stuff to China to get refined. Now, this is a big part in manufacturing, and you can see that it's turning it into magnets for electric vehicles, missiles, wind turbines. This is proper stuff that they need, and the Chinese are now turning the taps off. And Multiverse says, my portfolio is on life support. Should I turn it off? God, I wouldn't want to know what it looked like earlier. And maybe about 10 days ago, James. It's probably looking a lot better now. Okay, let's go. And now, speaking of insider trading and manipulation, well, there's none, apparently, according to the White House. There's just some exceptional investors. Now, we spoke about Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday on the show, but I just wanted to bring this up again. So she's a very sharp investor. She keeps in tune with all the news. She knows exactly what is going on. And she was fortunate enough or lucky enough to buy Apple and Amazon and a couple of stocks just before the announcement. It's unbelievable. It's uncanny.
I need her advisor's number. Fuck me.
Brilliant.
He's good.
Brilliant.
He's really good.
It's unreal. What an investor. But the White House says there was no insider trading at the White House. Okay, so it's confirmed. It's no insider trading. They've officially said it's not. So it's not. They said it's not. Okay. So what happens to Apple? Look at this thing. Absolutely gaps up today. How high did this thing gap up? Let's just take a look for shits and giggles here. Okay, nice little 7% move. Now probably selling her bags now at the moment, to be fair. But nice little gap up there, little 7% there for Marjorie, and looking nice for her. So it didn't hit my official short zone. I was actually getting excited. I think Lutnick and Trump basically ruined the party. I think if they didn't come and ruin the party there, we would have gapped up an Apple into the short zone. This is a danger zone, and I think we are going to get an opportunity here at some point. I don't think this opportunity is gone, but I think it's just a matter now of waiting for this big area here for us on Apple. So there were two resistance zones. I did drop in hackers earlier today. It was the 208 and it was this guy, the short zone. But this was the big one. Okay, so we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. 220 to 230. That's the big rejection zone. That's the big short zone for me on Apple. And then nice developments here for NVIDIA. And what's going on here? They've announced a $500 billion investment plan to build and expand AI infrastructure in the US. That's pretty big. Okay, that's pretty bullish for them. I think the stock is going to do relatively well now when this starts kicking in. And you can see today it has gapped up. And again, ruined by Lutnick and Trump. I think we didn't hit our short zone, unfortunately. So now we got to sit and wait patiently here. And let's try and see where we can get our reversal bounce. Let's see where we can get a nice move here on NVIDIA. So just sit tight. We're going to get an entry on at some point. I think that is relatively bullish news there for us. Okay, preparing for war, says he added to his spot portfolio 2 days ago, and he's not an insider trader. He's also a brilliant investor. Okay, he just knew. Maybe he was watching the show. Maybe he knew the fear and greed index was so low. Maybe he was super bullish like James was on support and max resistance. Okay, but good for you preparing for war. Nice work there, sir. Okay, so those are the stocks. Let's talk S&P. So again, giving up some of the gains today. So in the last hour now, that since we've gone live, we can see the S&P is actually starting to reverse now a little bit and getting a bit sad. So dead cat bounce, yes. Okay, this is still in play. And in terms of what I expect from the S&P, barring some terrible news out there, I would expect a higher low here, and I would expect this thing to actually grind a little bit higher, considering the amount of backtracking that is going on with the tariffs. Okay, so we're not at panic stations like we were 5-6 days ago, and I think the market just needs time to digest what is going on, and then we'll see where we are. So for me, S&P shorts up here at the 100, the 200, the 50, and the 100-day MA, so 5,750. And then in terms of support, I would expect a higher low at the very least. So let it play out for a day or so, and then we'll recap where we are this week. Remember, bearish Monday is not necessarily the worst thing for a trading week. So if we get a nice sell-off today, it could be pretty decent leading into Tuesday, Wednesday. So let's just enjoy the moment and try and snag a couple of entries. Now, who got the gold short that I've been talking about for a couple of days? And I did drop this one last night as well. And I think, James, I covered it no, I didn't cover it on Friday, but I dropped it in Hackers on the weekend that I was looking for a gold short. Now, there's a couple of ways you can short gold. You don't necessarily have to have an account that shorts the actual gold. What you can do is short something called 𝗵𝗊𝗃, which tracks the gold price like for like. And what I've done was I shorted gold on LBank using 𝗵𝗊𝗃. Okay, so we've got a reversal here. This was our big target zone, the 3618 fib at 3,270 for gold. We are front running that area just a little bit, and just because a trade has started working doesn't mean it's not going to reverse back and try and pump us back. So let's not get overexcited here. We've had a tiny move on gold. This is the weekly chart. Let's actually dial in here on the 1 hour. But it's a decent start to say the least. Okay, so you can see it is sort of trying to drop a little bit lower, and now it's starting to work its way down. So let's see how this thing plays out over the next couple of days. Remember, some horrible news out of the States could easily pump the gold price again. So my thesis on this gold situation was that the tariffs were getting delayed, and they were making backtracks on the Chinese thing, and that was pretty bullish for the market. And for me, looking at how oversold gold was on things like the 3-day and the weekly charts, it made sense that it was time for this thing to start rolling over a little bit. So here I am trading gold at the moment. There it is, 𝗵𝗊𝗃. So that's second from the top. And you can see I've got a $40,000 position here on LBank, and we are $690 in profit at the moment. Okay, so we'll let it play out. That's an isolated position. I don't want it to affect my hedge trading account that I'm busy running at the moment. So I'm trying to keep it completely isolated here in terms of that. Then a couple of other things. It's been a wild day for this towel trade. It's been lots of up, down, but it is now still green. So that's 28,000 short. I've got a 21,000 Sol hedge short in play. That is now green from today. There was some bearish divergence there. GMX also, it's a problem child for me. And also up and down. Render, that's my hedge play, because you can see this render long is cooking. Okay, I've built the size. It's now $40,000 long render. It's $8,600 in profit. So I'm running the hedge short in case we fall over. I am looking for entries. And then my Sui long is actually turning a little bit red now. And there's Jasmine from last night, that's short. Okay, so that's pretty much what I've got going in the bag there on LBank at the moment. And don't forget, guys, I'm running a competition. It's a private competition for my LBank community, or my community and chart hackers, or on the show. And all you need is $100 in your future account, and you can participate in this tournament. And there's proper prizes here. We're talking $3,000 for first, and fifth prize is even getting $1,000. So if you want to participate, just make sure you sign up to LBank using the link in the show description there, and take advantage of the various deposit bonuses as well that they are throwing out at you guys. So there is LBank waiting for you at the moment. And just a note, they give cash back for trading volume, and I've received $1,400 in my spot account just literally from trading fees that come back to you. And it's real money. It's not the futures bonus. It's actual money that they've given me back for trading volume in there. So quite a nice exchange, and you can trade that PAX-G. Okay, let's get into the big stuff, guys. This is BTC, and this was my note to Chart Hackers this morning. Basically, no actual changes to the bear case. We are still bearish under that big region, and that big region is the 90 to 91 zone. You can see that, and obviously we've got a war zone in front of it. So we got the 200-day and the 50-day. There's a lot going on in terms of resistance here for BTC, and if it does flip bullish, it's probably going to be a story like this. We pump into, say, 90, 92, somewhere in that region. Then we reject. The real test is going to be when we come back to things like the 50-day MA and the 200-day. If that plays out, then we can start saying we're super bullish. But in terms of the weekly chart, if we have to be completely honest with ourselves, that is, it's still in that downward trend. I mean, James, when you look at this, how do you feel? You feel warm and fuzzy?
The same as usual. Grr, bear.
A little bit bullish at the moment. Okay. So.
I mean, it's right on the line. It could go either way, right? It's a make or break right now.
It is. It's a big area, guys. Okay, well, he's bullish. He's bullish at the moment. So, look, the downside levels, just so you guys know, again, it's 73 to 69K. That's pretty much my first zone, and there's our 51. We don't need to talk about that now. Okay, but that's pretty much what we're watching. Bearish under that big zone, and then in terms of BTC, okay, lots of chop. Look at that candle, just taking out high leverage traders, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, it's absolutely messy there at the moment. Now, let's talk the news. What is this amazing thing that I'm seeing that indicated that these alts are going to do some big moves? Well, every Monday in Chart Hackers, I do a big or high time frame update on about 25 to 30 altcoins, and it actually helps me tee up my sentiment for the week. It also helps me give me my context on where we are with these altcoins in the grand scheme of things. And it's a very important day, for me, for my processes that I follow, and I share these charts with hackers. And I did pick up something very interesting for you guys today. And Rob says it looked like it broke out last night, but then it chopped back down. It did. But look, you can see on the 2 hour, guys, as long as we're holding this 81.7, I think we should be okay. All right. Okay, let's get into dominance, and then I'm going to show you what I found out today. So dominance, I see there's lots of circles on my chart here, guys. Okay, so just bear with me. But what you're looking at here, okay, ignore all these circles. Let's clean out the filth. Okay, what you need to see here, I've written here on the chart, if dominance drops, okay, and these alts start pumping, these are the zones you want to look to take profit on your altcoin. So if there is a rally in the altcoin market on a dominance reversal, I've marked out the most obvious zones where you get a bounce, and that is generally where the altcoins reject at resistance zones. And you guys will know these alts are sitting at resistance at the moment, and look what's happened. Dominance has bounced. So now these alts are rejecting at resistance zones. It's a very simple game to play with these altcoins, and this is how it goes every single time. So these are the levels you want to watch. 63.1, 62.9, 62.7. Mark these levels on your charts. Look at dominance. If you're getting an altcoin rally, pull out your dominance chart. If it's at one of those zones, maybe it's time to start looking for a bit of a take profit or de-risking. Okay, so that's just a suggestion here for you guys in terms of the way the dominance moves. And now let's get into altcoins pumping. So what have I actually picked up? So today I looked at the 3-day chart on probably between 20 and 30 altcoin charts, and I've pretty much picked up the same result on all of them. They're pretty much across the board. If you go look at these things, they've got the same picture. They're forming bullish divergence on a 3-day. Now, bullish divergence on a small time frame can often give you a nice little pump. You can get on a 15-minute time frame, you can get a 5% move, 7% move. On a full hour, you might get bigger moves, but on a 3-day, you can really get some strong moves out of the markets. And the last time we saw bullish divergence printing on altcoins was it gave us for example, on Litecoin here, this is the chart you're looking at, it gave us 150% move on Litecoin. So if you go back and look at all our altcoins, you're going to see some of them did 200, 250%, even bigger. And all it was bullish divergence printing on the oscillator telling us that, we are looking for a move to the upside. So this is across the board, but I use this example for Litecoin. So you can see I've highlighted the last time this happened, July 24. Okay, there it is over there. And we had that beautiful move to the upside. And we can see this is printing now for us at the moment. So in terms of all these higher time frames charts, these are the charts that I keep updated in Chart Hackers every Monday. Okay, these are the higher time frame things. And you can see, look, there's Cardano printing the bullish divergence there for us. Look at AVAX as well. There it is. Look at that divergence print there at the lows. And you can see it across the board on these alts. Look at 𝗬𝗰. Didn't hit our level, but it is printing divergence there for us. So they're telling us a story at the moment, okay? And Ria says, Dylan is bullish. I'm bullerish, okay? I'm literally bullerish, okay? Chill. Bull Moon is playing with the charts. Yes, so is Trump. And so's Marjorie Taylor, or whatever her name is. But guys, you get the picture. Okay, so, I've picked this all up. So what does this tell me? What is my message to you at the moment? Now, 3-day is obviously, it's quite a big time frame. So sometimes these could take a while to play out. I mean, literally, it could take weeks before we get that big move. If you see that Litecoin chart, it took a bit of time before there was some momentum. But the important thing is that it printed that bullish divergence. So for me, I like to say that we're going to hold these lows on these alts, barring some terrible news out of the US. I suspect if we do sell off here, these alts are going to hold the lows, and we're going to look for a grind higher before perhaps an eventual move lower down. So for me, over the short term, as in the next, say, month or so, I'd like to think these alts are going to hold these lows. Let's see how it works out, but that is what the oscillator is giving me. And obviously, we're going to play it by ear. And remember, guys, if you're a hacker, you're going to know the story, okay? We're going to short shit. We're going to long shit regardless of the market. Okay, you can see these hackers are cleaning up in the shorts as well. So even if we are bullish or bearish, we're going to clean up anyway. And Gary says, give us some bull sauce. Well, Gary, I hope you're going to get some bull sauce out of me today. Here's one of them. And I mean, this is just really, it's just my best. And I think we need to up the price though at the moment on this ETH, but it's looking good. And then in terms of just reading ETH at the moment, let's see how it responds to things. You get it, okay? You get the picture. But actually today, it is one of the better performers, to be fair. And I just want to show you guys, I did say this last night, and where's my thing gone? Because I had a big piece of writing here that said last night, it said pay attention over here. Okay, we've got a double bullish divergence print on ETH as well. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to the moon here on ETH. It just means we've got double divergence. We should be favoring an upside move here when you get the double print of that divergence. So ETH even looking interesting here for us at the moment. And in terms of ETH upside targets, guys, nothing serious. 1740 and 19. And I know Chaos is very long at the moment. I saw his P&Ls. It's disgusting at the moment. But 1740 and 1900, those are your upside levels for ETH. In terms of support, what I suggest you can do today, and this can be across the board on the altcoins as well, you can use your 3-day support markers. So for ETH 1560, that's under the 3-day candle that we're looking at now, and then lower down 1470 as potential support zones there for you guys on ETH. Okay, so watch that. Those are the upside plays for me. And again, we don't have to turn bullish. Look at this. It's a bearish trend. All we're going to do at some point is call this thing a retest, and we're going to get our short. So whether it's there, or whether it's there, I expect we're going to get a banger short here on ETH at some point, and we're going to play the whole game again. Okay, so yeah, that's the deal. Now we're going to get into tons of altcoins. And I just wanted to check, do you guys know what the daily candle is? This is a daily newsletter that goes out from Banter pretty much every day. And my day is Thursday. So Thursday is the day that I drop my alpha. We talk about a couple of things going on in Hackers. And I've left a link for the daily candle for you guys. It's absolutely free. Okay, it's a free newsletter. It gets sent to your email, and you're going to get setups and ideas and things from pretty much the whole Banter squad in there. My day is Thursday, or Chart Hackers Day is Thursday. So look out for those days. You get a bit of extra alpha there from me, and you can find this in the show description. So all you do is go under the show description, click on more, and you're going to find the daily candle there towards the bottom. Just click on that, and it's going to ask you for an email address and things like that, but it's all there. Okay, so have a look at that. Some daily alpha into your inbox for you guys, for those that still use email. You know this thing, email, this tech email, James. Okay, let's go. Let's talk Solana. Are we still bearish on Sol? Let's not forget, this is my plan on Sol, and it's very hard to not flip bullish when you look at the current market reaction and stuff like that. But I'm trying to be very respectful of my Sol plan, and 80 to 60, that sort of level is still in play for me, and Sol actually has got a lot of work to do here at the moment. So you can see this plan was major resistance at this 130 zone. I would say Sol even bearish at 149 and Sol even bearish at 170 to 180. These are all regions where you can get that higher low out of Sol. So don't want to be overly bullish, but in terms of what we're looking at the moment, in terms of the oscillators on the 3-day, I'm inclined to say we're going to see more upside before we break these lows. Now that is literally using that information that I've got on those oscillators. Obviously we could be completely wrong, and if we are wrong, well, that's going to print even more divergence for Sol on that oscillator. So let's just so basically let's pull up the 3-day. Let's see if Sol gives us the same story on the 3-day, and that's just going to give us an opportunity to print a new low. There you go. So you'll print some more divergence. So you'll probably have something along those lines, and then you'll have that double divergence print. So that's basically going to create some kind of slingshot there on Sol anyway. So look, let's see how this plays out. Those are the big weekly levels for me. Those are the big upside zones. And then in terms of degen plays, well, the information is all here. Okay, and we marked this, or I flagged this in Hackers earlier today, the bearish reversal print on the 2-hour. Remember, if you're going degen, it makes sense to follow the oscillators, and some of the best moves that you get out of the oscillators are going to be the divergences and the blue dot prints that you get from this. So we got that print now earlier today at resistance. That was the plan for Sol in our rejection zone. Now this thing is starting to roll over. So now the picture that we were building yesterday for bullish new entries and bigger plays here on Sol is starting to play out. So this is quite nice from what I'm looking for new entries. So just to remind you guys, what do we want to see? For me, we need this oscillator to reset on Sol. So let's just get this thing moving down. Where is that going to settle? Well, right now it's anyone's guess where it settles, but I would say my preferred area is going to be this zone here for me on Sol. So 121 down to 116, that's the zone for me. So let's get a dip into that region, and that is going to be a long zone there for us for Sol. That's where we need the bulls to step in. If the bulls aren't going to step in, guys, we are back in the downtrend and we are going to zero. Okay, so 115 to 121, watching that. Look how this ties in with this big chart. If we start losing that big level, you're probably coming down to those the big levels down there. Okay, we're talking 80s, we're talking 70s. And Rob says he's waiting on the next news flip-flop. Rob, correct, bro. That's why, I mean, we really gotta just roll with the moves here. Okay, it's like it's wild out there, but literally they can drop a tweet right now and this market can dump or it can pump. And that's why we're trying to be prepared on all these big levels as best as we can. Okay, Isna, I've got OM coming for you. We're going to talk about this shit show, and James has been doing some homework on OM. He's going to give us some info. So, guys, where are we adding to longs on Sol? Or if you don't have a Sol position, where's the best place to long? If that's what you're thinking. For me personally, 121 to 115. That is what I'm looking at. I want to add to the Sol position down here, and you can see I've been growing the size on this thing. We're $43,000. Let's see. We can ride the short down, print some money, close the short at that 120 to 116, use that profit to buy more Sol. Okay, that's basically my game plan there at the moment on Sol. Okay, so there you go. That's that. And then let's cover some more wild shit. This hype short has literally driven me crazy. Okay, it's now again in heavy profit. It's heavy. It's $1,800 in profit, and it's now $37,000 in size. And this has been a ride. I mean, this thing basically went flat again today, so it hasn't been a fun short to sit in. I mean, every time you see the market pumping and all these things are looking so bearish, you start second guessing yourself. You're like, geez, is this market going to rip through? But now, the things are starting to play out for us. So anybody who still held on to hype, well done. And hopefully now we are getting a nice move to the downside. So this was the game plan I set up for hype yesterday, and obviously I'd still like to see this play out. So I just want to give you guys the bounce zones and things that you can work with in the meantime. And this is applicable to anybody looking for longs on hype as well. You want to be watching some key areas. So your first zone of interest, folks, 15. Okay, you can see that's 15, and this is our 4-hour chart. So you can see this thing is starting to really push to the downside. Remember, our best move on this hype chart that we're looking at now, ideally, is going to be when we get that reversal to the downside. So obviously you're going to get reversals on lower time frames. You can zoom in 2 hour, 1 hour, and those things. But for me, the banger on this hype chart is going to be the 4 hour. So levels of interest where you're looking for a reversal: 15, unlikely; 14, very likely. That's a big zone for me. 14 on hype, and then 13. Okay, that is a nice area there for us. Nice little wick fill on a 0.5 as well. Okay, so watch those areas. It's nice and clean. 15, 14, 13. That is the downtrend we're looking at the moment. Hopefully something along those lines. Again, we're going to be triggered when we get this 4 hour reversal over here. Okay, so DGens, I'll drop a 1 hour or 2 hour chart in Hackers for you tomorrow. We're obviously watching this hype closely because we've been sweating this short for a while here, so it's on my radar nonstop. And I'll drop some updated charts there for you guys. Okay, so hype doing well, and then 𝗏𝗏 actually performed quite nicely today. So that thing is going. I've added a bit to that 𝗏𝗏 size, obviously making assumptions here, folks. Okay, assumptions that the move is not complete yet in the market. Okay, cool. Let's go FARTCOIN, and then I want James to talk about some OM with me, because I've got a couple of tweets and things like that. Right, are we ready for some kind of FARTCOIN play? So let's see. Okay, I had a little scalp earlier on FARTCOIN, and you can see it was popping that region there, and it sent to the highs. Okay, so there was a little scalpy earlier today on FARTCOIN. Let's see. We are back at our DGen support. We are at our retest DGen support here. Let's pull some fibs quickly. I haven't looked at this now in an hour or two. Let's pull some fibs and just make sure we are in a good region here. And let's see where our VWAPs are and things like that. Okay, and then we can figure out if there's another FARTCOIN long here for us. Okay, there, right here. Okay, VWAP bounce on FARTCOIN right now. That's the bull case. Okay, in its favor, we've got a 0.5 and a VWAP and a trend. So you've got support here at 8582. What is against FARTCOIN? The 30-minute is reversing at the moment. Okay, BU the full U says fart. Okay. Okay, maybe it's time for a long here. Let's look at 15 minutes. We want this reset. Okay, we want to reset on a DGen basis. Okay, almost there. So what I could suggest here, you can see we are close to a reversal on lower time frames, but we're not there yet. So what you want to see is that type of move. So I think it's around the corner. James, let's track this FARTCOIN while the show is running here. I'm just going to put an alarm on. Maybe it hits while we are talking. And let's see if we can get some kind of trigger here on FARTCOIN. Okay, and Dylan's beard, the guy's literally, his name is literally Dylan's beard. I mean, come on, bro. Okay, and guys, if you are looking at this TA and you're saying, well, what the fuck's going on? How does this guy know it's going to bounce? How did he know it was going to short? What is that oscillator? What is that indicator he's using? Guys, it really is so simple, like literally so simple. I use basic TA. Okay, and I can teach you about it. Just do the accelerator course. It's super quick. You'll be done in like 10 days, and you'll have a proper understanding on how all this thing works, how all the puzzle pieces come together, and how you get these types of setups that I like to build for you guys. So do the accelerator course. I'm doing a masterclass on the 6 days, 21 hours. Yes, that's the 21st. Of April. I'm doing my masterclass workshop, and I'm going to do it live. We're going to build setups live together for that workshop. But make sure, guys, you're doing the course. You're going to learn so much in there. Again, the course is here under the show description. Just sign up. It's basic stuff. It's short, sweet, concise videos. You're not going to get bored. You're going to learn shit and then come to the workshop and have a little bit of fun with me. Okay, let's go. Yes, Fawcett, we need a token called FARTCAT. I think fundamentally that will be an absolute banger. I concur with that statement. Okay, let's talk about this absolute shitcoin. Okay, OM. We watched it fall over last night. Let's just look from the highs. Okay, if you bought the top, there's always a buyer and a seller. Somebody bought the top. 96%. Okay, it's nearly as bad as PopCat. Okay, at one point. Okay, so 96% down. OM. It collapsed overnight, and there's a couple of things that happened. Let's hear what James has to say. James, give us the story. Tell us the drama.
Story? Pure bullshit. That's the story.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much confusion on this thing, and this happened as we were on the show again live yesterday too, right? And nobody knew. The team was silent, but it's because they're in Asia, so it was like 3 a.m. for them. So everyone's going, oh yeah, and the rumors their Telegram disappeared and all mass panic and everything else. So the news has come out. Founder says it wasn't them, denies having anything to do with it, said they sold nothing, saying that this was high leverage exchange liquidations is what caused this, and that the team sold nothing. But there's evidence that there was $227 million in spot tokens that were sent to exchanges just before this happened. Where'd that come from? And how do you lose $5.5 billion out of a $6 billion token without the founder selling some of their tokens? Do they hold nothing? It just, the story doesn't make much sense. So they're still trying to hash it out. I know Rand had the guy on the show today. I haven't caught that, but it just makes no sense to me. How do you lose this much value that quickly on just a leverage position? Makes no sense unless there was no spot. If no one held any spot and it was strictly leveraged, then okay.
Yeah, but I'm not buying that. It's like, how do you wipe out $5 billion of market cap? It's fucking bullshit. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it stinks.
Yeah, the thing was obviously manipulated. It was the only thing that sat up there while the whole market dumped and all your memes lost 95% of their value, and this thing just stayed steady and kept going up. Going, what the hell? And we knew that when we were trading it. In Chart Hackers, Trader Jay was always telling everyone, watch out for this scam coin. This is a total scam. I'm telling you, be careful. Do not hold this shit. You want to trade it, but you're going to get liquidated when you trade this shit too. It's so dangerous.
It's always suspicious, that the way it held when the market was collapsing and OM was fucking just sitting anyway.
Well, and the way it ripped and moved opposite of the market too. It just was insane.
Here's the story from AIXBT, guys. Team actions. Telegram channels deleted during crash. Team went dark after price drop. Controlled 90% of supply. Okay. Scheduled 45 million token unlock for April. Large holder dumped $40 million position. Okay. And absolute shit show. Okay. There it is. There's the summary from AIXBT. And who dropped the price of OM says, look on chain. And before the crash, at least 17 wallets deposited $43 million into exchanges, 4.5% of the circulating supply. I don't know. It feels like more got dumped. 4.5%. It feels like more.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
whole thing just stinks to high heaven. I don't believe it.
Okay, well, anyway, here's the founder. If you want to read the explanation he's given here as to what's happened, you can read. Here's his tweet, and he's broken it down as to what is going on. He was on Run Show, so maybe he explained it nicely on Run Show. I obviously missed that segment, so probably good information there. If you want to find out, well, not from the horse's mouth, but from the founder, he can probably, elaborate a little bit. And Ivan says, OM was my best spot trade so far. And now, Ivan? Not so good.
Hope he sold. Right? I hope he sold before this happened.
Jeez. Okay, guys, rough ride, absolute dog shit. Is this thing worth buying again? Again, I don't know the fundamentals about the story, but for me, it feels like this token has now been flooded. The supply has been flooded on the market. So the buyer is going to step in and buy this after this drama. I think people are scarred from things like Luna. They're scarred from these other rugs. So who knows what happens here? But in terms of levels, if you want to look at this thing, 36 cents. That's your low. Watch 36 cents. Possible bounce area there for me. At some point, this thing should squeeze higher. But, maybe it's another Rune situation. And ultimately,
I was just going to say, this looks an awful lot like Rune. And Rune has not recovered. And everybody's like, oh, buy it, buy. And what did it do? Nothing.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, there you go. There's the long and short of it of OM. Another sad ending to a crypto project. Might not be over, obviously. Could still bounce, but I'm not touching that thing just yet. We'll let it play. Okay, let's talk a couple of other setups that we are waiting patiently for. Here is 𝗏𝗏𝗧. So I'm sitting in the short, as you guys know, and that's been a sweat out. It hasn't been fun, and was able to ride that short up to negative $3,000, give or take. And that is fortunately because I'm running a hedging account here. So we're going up and down, and we're playing the game. So this short has now turned green, okay, again, after the long drama. And now I'm expecting this thing to start playing out a little bit lower. So in terms of the 4 hour, this is something interesting. And I expect we're going to get a reversal on this guy before we get a reversal to the upside on some of the other alts. And the reason being is this 4 hour is pushing down pretty quickly, okay, at the moment. So watching this closely, obviously because of the nature of my position. And you can see right now, actually, interestingly, we are, no, that's our 236. Okay, let's bang out our 236, our super degen fib. Okay, no, we're just below it. Okay, so that's not that helpful. In terms of the plan, I'd love to see this 226. I don't really want to see it lower. Okay, I don't really want to see it at 215 because then there's a possibility. Look at this candle. There's a possibility that they're going to come and wipe that candle out. Okay, so that's when it gets a little bit ugly there in terms of degen long. So 225, 226, maybe a wick onto the VWAP 222. Don't want to go much lower than that. We're going to have to monitor this guy. Okay, and this is in terms of bounce longs. In terms of my short, well, yeah, they must send it to zero. But I'm trying to run a balanced play. So I'm going to be flipping long on this thing. If we start losing these levels, I'm going to be looking for longs here. I'm going to start building a long. Using that hedge short now is going to start paying for me to build a long. So, I'm going to get some buys in as this thing falls over. That is the game plan, and then ultimately close that short when we get the reversal print. So that is kind of how I want to play this thing. 226 to 222. Watch that zone. 215 is, it's okay. And then you've got 203 as your next area of interest there. So, that's the only thing I've got to report for you on Tower at the moment. Resistance is 255, and you can see our 50-day MA coming in hot now. This thing is dropping like a stone, and that is going to be resistance for us later on. So when we get a bounce, we're going to be bringing this 50-day MA into play again, and we'll find confluence forward somewhere. Okay, so watch that guy on Tower, and then let's go 𝗬𝗰, another big one for me now. You can see my 𝗬𝗰 long that I've been really increasing the size, obviously looking for this thing to rip a little bit harder. It's now going to put me under a bit of pressure. So we've got that head short in play at the moment. And in terms of levels for me, 2.15, same level from last night. And then lower down, we've got our 618 at 1.98. I would say keep your eyes on those levels. I expect that's where we're going to get our reversal. Here's our 2 hour, still pushing lower. Let's see the 4. Okay, 4's got work to do, guys. 4's got to come down. So this could be a little bit more time while this thing consolidates. So what I suggest, watch these levels here. Remember, these charts go straight into chart hackers after the show. Okay, so you're going to have them. You can mark them out. And 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 says IP is dumping hard. I don't trade those types of things because they're also filth, I like to trade things that I'm used to, things like that. But I like to trade stuff that I'm used to trading. And so we can look at IP at some point, I'm sure. Okay, so you've got the levels for 𝗬𝗰. Just notable, guys, it's not ideal when you lose a rising trend. Okay, so that typically means that you're starting your new trend. You can see we've printed lower highs on these alts, and that typically means we get that. So, this is your process. We're in a downtrend until this trend breaks up again. So that is the game we're playing, okay, at the moment. So just look out for these types of plays. You got your levels, 2.15, 1.98. Those are the big ones for me. You can see the little area there, okay, in the middle. Okay, but yeah, okay, if they're going to do that damage, let's see it at 1.98. I would love that. Okay, let's go Link. So here's a nice play for you guys on Link, and here's a nice strategy. This is a lot of the questions people ask when the market's getting bullish, they're saying, oh, how do I get into this thing? Am I taking on too much risk? How do I play the game? So I thought Link was a good example for you guys as to how you can play this from a DGen basis or from waiting for an entry basis. So here is Link on the 4 hour. And what can we see? We can see the evidence says Link wants to potentially push lower. You can see our oscillator is getting bearish, wanting to drop to the downside. Now, there's normally two options here. When the market flips super bullish, sometimes you're going to get pressure on the upside, even though the oscillators are heavily overbought or showing reversal signs. Sometimes an oscillator on a 4 hour can sit for another day or two at those highs while it pumps, and it's just going to print more divergence. So you do get these breakouts and things like that, but how do you play it safely? So the DGen play on Link, and it's exactly the way I've drawn this picture. If you get a hard break out of Link, let's say the market pumps, what you want to do typically is you want to see that breakout of that horizontal. You see that arrow. Then the real test always comes when the bulls step in or don't step in on the retest. So that breakout is normally the most dangerous time to buy, because so many times we get these fake outs where they pump it up and then they reverse you because they're pumping it up, because a breakout is essentially a liquidity grab. They're sticking it up to take out the shorts, and then they're dropping it. To take out the shorts, then they're dropping it lower down. Okay, so the bulls need to step in on that retest of these horizontals. So that is always the big one. So if you're seeing one of these tokens starting to break out on the horizontal, there's nothing wrong with nibbling at these things, but it's not a place where you want to ape your full clip on the trade, because so often the real test comes when it comes back to you. So if you see a bullish condition on any altcoin you're trading on this type of time frame, in these types of bullish conditions where you're trying to catch a breakout to the next zone, you want to watch this thing. If it starts bumping through there, you can nibble a little bit, because what typically happens then is you get a pop. Okay, the shorts get rinsed, and then you get this pullback. And the bulls really need to step in there on that retest, and then you can send it. So you can buy and nibble a little bit on that break, and then you want to really add on that bull zone retest. If the bulls don't step in there, then at least your risk is pretty low. Okay, then you haven't aped too much on the breakout candle and put yourself in a high risk position. So hopefully that helps you guys understand the process there on playing that breakout. And then in terms of what I'm looking for on Link, now I'm in quite a big size Link position, and I'm trying to grow it as we go. Again, I've taken the angle that we're going to hold these 618s. We're going to hold hopefully a 382 and things like that. But we can see this Link is starting to fall over a little bit. And for me, looking to add on simple things like VWAPs, 382s, and trends. And you can see this whole region for me looks very interesting. I've written here, ideal pullback zone to remain bullish. As long as we are in that region, I think we're going to be okay. So I'd love to see Link bounce here at 12. But we've also got a wick in this area. These are all areas that can come into play for us. And we're going to really try and just be guided by this oscillator. Once this oscillator starts settling nicely for us, giving us a reversal, hopefully some divergence, then we're going to know, it's time to start really pushing the button on this thing and ramping it up. So the zone of interest for me is 12 to 11.3. That makes sense to me. If we break out first, okay, if the first move is actually this breakout, I'm expecting a rejection, okay? And then we're going to get the big move. If we just drift down now into that zone, I expect this to be the bigger trade, okay? That would be ideal for me to about 15.8 or 16 is what I'm going to be looking for. So that's the game plan there, guys, on Link. There's two trade options there for you guys. So hopefully you got the message on how to play that breakout. And then downside 12 to 11.3, that area, guys, that is where I'm really going to start paying attention on this guy. Okay, let's go one more. I've got, let's go Brett, because this has been an absolute banger. Okay, so hopefully some of you guys got some Brett action last week. I know the chart hackers, I covered it in my Zoom last Friday as a potential one that nobody was paying attention to. And, we like to buy when the market's turning bullish and nobody is buying a certain token. Well, especially something like Brett, you got to start paying attention. So in terms of Brett, we are actually in our short zone now. We are in our danger area. Look at that double divergence print, bang, bang. Look at that. Okay, that's not looking good, okay, at the moment for Brett. There's signs of a reversal there. So this could possibly start drifting a little bit lower for us. If it does drift lower, where's your potential bullish buy zone? Let's just mark a couple out for you guys just so you can find a zone. Remember, if you're going to look for these bullish buy zones, you taking the or making the assumption that the market is going to remain bullish. Okay, so that is basically my assumption at the moment, and that is what you're going to look for. So you're going to look for some interesting zones. Obviously, you want as much confluence as possible. So the longer it sits up here, the more time you're going to have for this VWAP to drift higher. So you're going to see this thing start grinding higher. So play it by ear. Okay, zones of interest to watch. 50-day moving average. Okay, look at that. That's going to hold underneath. So as long as we can hold sort of under that zone. So level number 1, 3282, zone number 1. Zone number 2 of interest. Now you're going to wait for this thing to start falling over. Zone number 2, 313. Okay, and by then you're going to have this VWAP drifting up here. So that's going to be an interesting area, 313 to 298. Okay, that zone there for now is looking interesting to me. Okay, so let's see how this plays out over the next 24 hours. Let's see where we are tomorrow. But that would be my ideal sort of bull zone here on a 2-hour reset. So that 2 hour needs a bit of time, but that is ideal there. 313 to 298 for me could be quite fun for us. That VWAP will be pushing up as well. And then obviously, guys, we can identify, these levels lower down all day long. But, for now, that's what I want to see on Brett. Now, if this thing starts ripping from here, I do believe we are going to just at some point get quite a big reversal out of it. And the reason being, you've got double divergence prints. So all this means is if Brett rips again, you're just going to print more divergence, most likely. Okay, so you're gonna get another example of this thing just doing that. Okay, and then you're going to get that divergence trigger as well for you guys. And you want to time that, any shorts or any TPs, you want to time it at these key zones. So these key zones are 348, 379, and 417. Those are all short zones. Those zones there are short zones. If there's a hard pump, that is where you're looking for TPs and potential shorts there on this Brett. Okay, guys, there you go. That's a wrap. We covered quite a lot. I know we are tariff heavy at the moment with the news, and it just feels so relevant that we need to know what is happening in the market because things are changing every few hours, every day. There's new information out there, and I know some of you guys are getting frustrated. You're saying Trump is on the tile every single day, but he's part of the news, okay? And we watching things that move the market, and unfortunately, he's moving the market, okay? So that is why we are paying tons of attention to that. At some point, normal affairs continue, okay? And we'll carry on with our lives, hopefully with no tariff and Trump talk at some point, okay? Guys, good luck out there. I'm back tomorrow, same time. See you later.